The NHL trade deadline, where teams overpay for expiring contracts, looking for that one last piece of the puzzle to immortalize them on the world's most grandiose championship of all time, the Stanley Cup. And now for the least subtle part of this video, subscribe! One team's worst trade is another team's best trade, but for every trade that does put one over the edge, there are many, many more that don't work out, and a great deal that blow up in one's face. Kinda like one of those old Wile E. Coyote cartoons. Meep. Sometimes the magic beans of a draft pick become that beanstalk, or maybe an afterthought or a prospect turns into a Hall of Famer. You truly never know what you're gonna get. Here we look at part 1 of our 3-part series of some of the most lopsided deals in NHL trade deadline history. The 2013 Ottawa Senators were looking for offense and had a logjam at goal with Robin Lehner and Craig Anderson, and Tampa needed a goalie. The deal was the Ottawa Senators traded goaltender Ben Bishop to the Tampa Bay Lightning for forward Cory Conacher and Philadelphia's 4th-round pick in the 2013 draft. In hindsight, the Senators were putting all their eggs in the Robin Lehner basket. Conacher was a speedy, smaller rookie center who greatly benefited from the elite offensive talent on Tampa. Most of the time thought Tampa GM Steve Yzerman had been fleeced. But the joke was on Ottawa as Conacher tallied just 25 points in 72 games, and the next season the Sens dropped him on waivers like a rotten sack of potatoes. Bishop became the starter for Tampa Bay in 2013-2014 and was one of the NHL's top netminders until injuries forced his retirement this past December. The 06-07 Flyers were having one of the worst seasons in team history, kinda like the one they're having now. They decided to sell off their assets and build for the future. The Atlanta Thrashers traded defenseman Braden Coburn to the Philadelphia Flyers for fellow defenseman Alexei Zhitnik. Coburn at the time was a promising 21-year-old blue liner who had been drafted 8th overall in 2003. Zhitnik was a 34-year-old defenseman whose best years were way back in the rearview mirror. Zhitnik went scoreless in the Thrashers' 4-game playoff and retired at the end of the season. Coburn would play 576 games with the Flyers, bringing much-needed defensive stability to the team. Remember when they played hockey in Atlanta? Nah, me neither. But they kept bringing more teams to Canada, so there's that. With the Calgary Flames looking for defensive stability and a backup to starter Mike Vernon, they decided to sacrifice some offense to get it. The deal sent Brett Hull and Steve Bozek to the St. Louis Blues for defenseman Rob Ramage and goaltender Rick Wamsley. The Flames at the time were an offensive juggernaut, with Hakan Lube, Mike Bullard, Joe Neuendijk, and a young Gary Roberts, as well as having a pipeline of great prospects in the system. So they were able to spend money to make money to shore up their weaknesses. St. Louis was struggling to score goals, and the arrival of Hull put him tied for second for goals scored on St. Louis behind only Tony McKegney's 40 goals. Hull scored 26 goals in 52 games as a rookie for the Flames. Flames GM Cliff Fletcher made this quote at the time, maybe realizing what he had just done. Here's the quote: "We were cognizant of the risk. Hull is going to score a lot of goals in the NHL, but we evaluated the trade from the standpoint that we have the number 1 scoring team in the league, and we had not been using Brett in a lot of key games at this stage. Because of the chemistry of the lineup, the balance between defense and offense is critical at this stage of the year. We thought it worth giving up our future in return for a real solid NHL defenseman and goaltender who can get the job done in the NHL." While that quote may have aged like warm milk, the trade did work for Calgary. Ramage was instrumental in the Flames' '89 Stanley Cup win, and that was the goal. It's not like Calgary got totally fleeced, but they gave up what turned out to be the 4th leading goal scorer in NHL history, and Hall of Famer in Brett friggin' Hull, for a few guys that absolutely weren't Brett Hull. The Pittsburgh Penguins were looking for a gritty power forward to eventually replace the aging Tomas Sandstrom. Vancouver was hoping to develop on the promise of the former 16th overall pick in 1991, Marcus Naslund. The deal had Pittsburgh sending right winger Marcus Naslund to the Vancouver Canucks for right winger Alex Stoyanov. This one is just oof. Stoyanov was seen as a power forward with game-breaking potential, but that potential would shatter after a car accident would stop his career before it even started. At the time of the trade, Canucks GM Pat Quinn said that Naslund wasn't a very good player. Why would you trade for him then? Even after Naslund scored 52 points in 66 games with the Penguins. Most thought he was a byproduct of playing on the same line with Jaromir Jagr and Ron Francis. At the time, the smart money was that Naslund wouldn't become a solid player. He was 22 and wildly inconsistent. He was also expendable due to the Penguins' glut of offensive forwards. Nazi's hard work as a Canuck did pay off, as he was a 5-time All-Star, won the Pearson Award in 2002 and 2003 season as the NHL's most outstanding player. Yeah, he wasn't very good. As you see, one man's trash is another one's treasure. It's very easy to declare a winner or loser, a trade right after it happens, but most of the time it takes years for that trade to work out, and sometimes all a player needs is a good change of scenery. Thank you for watching.